In the book Film Theory and Criticism by Leo Brawley and Marshall Cohen, Andrew Saris states, over a group of films, a director must exhibit certain characteristics of style which serve as a signature. The way a film looks and moves should have the same relationship to the way a director thinks and feels. When exploring unique styles within film and looking at a direct link to the director, the first person that comes to mind is Wes Anderson. Over the years, Wes Anderson has rightly become an established auteur who has built his own unique fictional world through his visual and narrative styles. This is evident throughout the years and in particular his recent films such as The Grand Budapest Hotel, Isle of Dogs and many more, which have all been critically acclaimed for their cinematic qualities and have proved popular with his audience. However, we are not going to explore these movies. In this video essay, I will explore the cinematic features presented in the opening credit scene of Moonrise Kingdom presented by Wes Anderson and his cinematographer Robert Yeoman, who is responsible for many of Anderson's cinematic masterpieces. This will be broken down into 4 different sections: camera, design, lighting, and sound to demonstrate the cinematic techniques employed by both Wes Anderson and Robert Yeoman. When exploring Wes Anderson, audiences tend to find consistent themes and motifs within his camera work. Some of these include long tracking shots, his use of whip pans, and his most noticeable and admired use of symmetry and central framing within his films. Moonrise Kingdom is no exception to these motifs. The cinematography is consistently precise, and this is presented through his use of symmetry and central framing in the shots. Instantly we are presented with his use of symmetry as Susie's brother is sitting down in the center of the frame while also continuing the rest of the scene in almost perfect symmetrical format. Wes Anderson is known to provoke emotion with his cinematic styles, and through his obsession with center framing, this is more than evident. However, as Wes Anderson uses symmetry within his films, he uses more than just people to center his shots. This is presented through his use of objects as well as people to get these beautiful cinematic pieces, as presented with the wall in the second shot, and the binoculars in the next shot right afterwards. Furthermore, as Anderson does this, through the works of his DOP Robert Yeoman, they select to use a wide lens with a large depth of field in order to feed the audience more information about the scene itself and leave nothing to question, as we can see in the opening scene. Additionally, the wide lens gives us as an audience the opportunity to see our characters placed in their surroundings. This mixed in with the use of whip pans almost places us as the audience in the scene with our characters as spectators exploring what is happening around us. Wes Anderson has built himself a reputation over the years to use beautiful and unique color palettes within his films in order to convey such emotion within the audiences. It adds not only to his films cinematically, but also to the narrative he's trying to convey. He has become well known to use set design to his advantage, creating practically an art piece people will recognize almost instantly. Moonrise Kingdom is no exception to this. Wes Anderson sets up his color palettes not only to fit the time period his films are based in, but also he's a genius who sets out to make them explore the mood he's trying to get the viewer to feel. In Moonrise Kingdom's case, he uses warm colors to create a nostalgic feeling of the 60s. Throughout the scene, we see his use of colors such as yellow, red, orange, his little use of blue on the walls, and also adds color to the carpets, floors, props, and Susie's dress. Here, he uses these colors to set up a scene of a home based in the 60s as everything is quite warm and gives out the feeling of nostalgia. Additionally, his heavy use of yellow is not just a stylistic choice. He uses it as the colors are almost symbolic for the world he's creating. Yellow is often associated with happiness and can be directly linked to sunflowers. He sets up this almost perfect world within his narrative through his use of heavy different colors and the house setting, which further introduces us to the world in which Susie lives in. Furthermore, Andrew Cliven states in his book Disclosure of the Everyday that particular household objects in film collect meanings through repeated usage and develop associations throughout the narrative. Clive then highlights how certain objects that can be seen as everyday household items aren't just placed in for aesthetic reasons, but the filmmaker can develop these objects to have meaning. In this 30-second scene, Wes Anderson introduces us to these objects that later play a major role in the film, but he does it through his subtle use of set design. Throughout the scene, we are instantly introduced to a record player that one of Susie's brothers are using, vinyl records, books, and binoculars. Wes Anderson doesn't place these here just for aesthetic reasons to fit the nostalgic narrative he's going with, but for something a little more symbolic. Throughout the movie, all these objects contribute to the narrative of the film, but right now, Wes Anderson places these objects subtly throughout the scene, foreshadowing their importance later on in the movie, giving the audience a chance to figure out their importance before it's revealed, keeping us engaged with the film and its narrative almost constantly throughout. In the final frame, we see Susie and her three brothers all together in the same room. However, we can see that each character has this space built between them. John Gibbs states in Mise-en-Scene's film style interpretation that space is a vital expressive element at a filmmaker's disposal. Gibbs explains how in each frame, space shouldn't be wasted, but in fact should be utilized to further develop the narrative instead. Anderson does this as he places each character in their own individual spaces, revealing to the spectators the emotional state and relationship between the family he's presenting to us. The fact the three brothers are all on the floor and Susie decides to sit above them shows the audience how detached she feels from her own family, furthermore making us empathetic towards her feelings of loneliness. As we observe the use of lights, Anderson's DOP Robert Yeoman sets up his lights through trying to keep the look natural and undistorted. We are able to see the lights set up in two of the shots as lamps and household lights. Through this, he is able to light the scene around the characters without drawing too much attention to it, while also keeping the look natural and warm throughout, staying consistent with that nostalgic feeling of the 60s as spoken about in the design section. We can also see he sets up a couple of soft lights behind the camera through the shadow of Susie walking into the shot. He does this in order to fully light the scene, but also keep true to the themes and motifs set up by Anderson as well. We can also see that in the last shot that some soft lights are also set up from behind the window, still giving that natural look and making the lighting believable. Wes Anderson has made himself known to use a lot of pop music and classical tracks from the 1960s and 70s within a lot of his films, and Moonrise Kingdom is no exception to this. In the opening scene, we hear the introduction to The Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra, Variations and Fugue on the theme of Purcell, running on an old record player from at the time.
In order to show you how a big symphony orchestra is put together, Benjamin Britten has written a big piece of music, which is made up of smaller pieces that show you all the separate parts of the orchestra. These smaller pieces are called variations, which means different ways of playing the same tune.
However, Anderson doesn't only use this track to fit the 60s aesthetic of the time as this was released in 1961. This track and many others by Benjamin Britten are tied to a number of different major plot points of the film as well. Overall, the sound design within the opening scene is kept quite minimal, but with the use of the soundtrack mixed in with the design, it sets up the overall time period, mood, and aesthetic Anderson was trying to convey within the first 30 seconds. In conclusion, Wes Anderson and his DOP are creative masterminds that mix camera work, lighting, design, and sound together in order to portray their own unique world. He is able to set up this world within 30 seconds using the 4 different cinematic techniques so effortlessly. He is truly a film auteur.